All right, today we're going to chase a mystery, and it's a wild one. It starts with whales that could walk, and it ends with a kind of magic trick, really, happening inside our computers that is absolutely changing the world. So let's dive right in.
I know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? But it's absolutely true. Whales, their ancestors used to have legs and they walked on land. So that just opens up this huge, fascinating question, how? How does life pull off such a dramatic change? I mean, where does the brand new genetic code for, say, fins instead of legs even come from?
And this isn't just a weird one off thing. Life's entire history is just packed with these incredible transformations. For example, birds, they're literally living dinosaurs. And us, humans, we actually grow and then reabsorb tails while we're in the womb. In fact, if you go back far enough, every single one of us can trace our family tree all the way back to a single bacterium. Now, these aren't just cool trivia facts, they're clues, echoes of some incredibly powerful mechanism that's been working behind the scenes. So, what is this powerful mechanism? What's the big secret? Well, it turns out it's not some super complicated grand design. It's actually a mistake, a really common copy paste error in our DNA that somehow became the engine for pretty much all of life's greatest innovations. It's a process called gene duplication, and this is one of the main ways that brand new genetic material gets made. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. A random error happens and a whole chunk of DNA, a gene included, just gets copied twice. Okay, here's a great way to think about it. Imagine your genome is life's giant instruction manual, right? Gene duplication is like you're at the photocopier and you accidentally hit copy twice on one of the pages. Now, the original page, it's still there, it still does its job, keeping the whole operation running smoothly, but now you've got this extra copy. And this spare copy? It's free to experiment. It can get scribbled on, changed, accumulate mutations over millions of years, and maybe, just maybe, it'll evolve a totally new function, all without ever breaking the original machine. So scientists, of course, have special names for all these related genes, but there's a really handy way to remember them. Just think HOP, hop. So H is for homologs. That's the big umbrella term for any genes that share a common ancestor. Simple enough. O is for orthologs. These are homologs you find in different species, like the gene for hemoglobin in you and the gene for hemoglobin in a chimp. Then you've got P for paralogs. These are homologs you find within the same species. And these are the ones we really care about right now, because paralogs are the direct result of that copy-paste error, that gene duplication event we were just talking about. Okay, so understanding the biology is one thing, but actually finding these duplicated genes, figuring out where they are, that is a whole other level of challenge. And we're talking about a challenge on a scale that is, well, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. 3 billion. That's the number. We're talking 3 billion letters or base pairs in just one human genome. Now, here's the problem. Our modern DNA sequencing machines, they can't just read this whole book from start to finish. Instead, they basically shred it into millions and millions of tiny little pieces. And that brings us to the single biggest computational puzzle in modern genetics. It's called read mapping. You've got millions of these little DNA confetti pieces, they're called reads, and your job is to figure out where every single one of them goes in that massive 3 billion letter reference book. Let me put it another way. Imagine I hand you one sentence, and I tell you to find it inside a book that is 3 billion letters long. Oh, and one more thing. The book has no chapters, no page numbers, and absolutely no index. Where would you even start? I mean, reading it letter by letter? You'd be there for an eternity. Well, this is where computer science has its superhero moment. The solution isn't to read the book faster. It's to first build a really, really clever index for it. An index that lets us find any sentence almost instantly. And this is what's so brilliant about the whole thing. The breakthrough wasn't just, let's build a faster computer to muscle through it. No, the real genius was in figuring out a smarter way to organize the data before we even begin the search. So, an early attempt at this was something called a suffix array. The idea is, for a small bit of text, you'd list out every possible ending, like every suffix. Then you'd sort that list alphabetically and keep track of where each one originally started. This sorted list works like an index, and it makes searching super fast. But when you try to do this for a whole 3 billion letter genome, it takes up an absolutely massive amount of computer memory. So we needed something even better.
And that's when scientists and computer scientists came up with something truly mind-bending, a masterpiece of data compression and searching that honestly feels like a straight-up magic trick. It's called the Burrows-Wheeler transform, or BWT for short. So how does this magic trick work? Let's take a simple little text string, ABBA, ABBA. Step 1, we add a special character, usually a $sign, just to mark the end. Step 2, we create every possible rotation of that string, like a spinning wheel of letters. Step 3, we take all those rotations and sort them alphabetically. And now for the final reveal. The Burrows-Wheeler transform is just the very last letter of each row in that sorted list. That's it. And you can see that whole process right here. On the left, you've got all the rotations we made. In the middle column, you can see them all sorted alphabetically. And now, just focus on that last column on the right. If you read those characters from top to bottom, that string of letters, that's our Burrows-Wheeler transform. So what we end up with is Abba Abadza. And, I mean, let's be honest, it looks like total nonsense. It feels like we just took our original text and threw it in a blender. But here's where the magic really kicks in. That scrambled up string, it secretly holds all the information of the original, but it's rearranged in a special way that makes it super easy to compress and ridiculously fast to search. There's a hidden order inside the chaos. So how do we unlock that hidden order? Well, there's this beautifully simple rule called the last to first, or LF mapping property. Just imagine two columns of letters. The last column, let's call it L, is that scrambled BWT we just made. The first column, F, is just those exact same letters but sorted alphabetically. Now here's the rule, and it's the whole secret. The first A you see in the L column corresponds to the first A in the F column. The second B in L corresponds to the second B in F. It's a perfect one-to-one mapping. This simple fact is the secret key that lets us reverse the whole trick. And with that rule, we can now work backwards and unscramble it. Here's how. First, you find the row that starts with our special $sign. Look over to the last column in that same row. Whatever letter is there, you then find its matching partner over in the first column and jump to that row. You write down the letter and you just repeat the process. Look at the last column, find it in the first, jump and write it down. You're basically hopping back and forth, building the original string one letter at a time, but in reverse. And if you do that, voila, you perfectly rebuild the original sequence, ABBA, ABBA. We've unscrambled the gibberish. The magic trick works. And this exact reversible process is the engine behind the lightning-fast tools that let scientists search entire genomes in the blink of an eye. So, okay, we went on a bit of a journey there, huh? From walking whales all the way to a clever little algorithm. But let's bring it back. Why does this abstract computer science magic trick actually matter in the real world? What's the so what here? Well, it matters because this magic trick is pretty much everything. Being able to read the book of life this fast allows us to do incredible things. We can hunt down the tiny genetic typos that lead to devastating diseases. We can trace our own human history with unbelievable precision. And we can start to design targeted, personalized medicines that would have sounded like pure science fiction just a few years ago. It really all comes down to this powerful idea. I think this quote says it perfectly. By learning to read the history of life, we are learning to write its future. Think about it. We went from a simple copy-paste mistake in some ancient creature to these incredible algorithms running on our laptops. For the first time in history, the code of life is basically an open book. The only real question left is, what chapter should humanity write next? Thanks for joining me.